Will the best pitcher in baseball be traded at this year's deadline? Will the Bronx Bombers be able to survive without their former American League MVP in their lineup? We're going to discuss all that right now. So kick back and relax because the late night edition of Hitting Home on Wednesday nights starts right now. Good, I guess, night, evening, whatever you want to call it, everybody, and welcome back into another edition of Hitting Home, only here on 609 Sports Talk Radio, coming to you guys live tonight with a lot of big headlines around the world of Major League Baseball. But as always, we are your hosts, Sam Nelson, Dustin Reese. Dustin, how are we tonight, brother?
Oh, just at work right now, but other than that, we're doing well.
Man's pulling the double duty tonight. He's got the work and he's on the show. So look, we know that we've given you guys a bunch of confusion over the past couple weeks. This will be the Hitting Home start time now. 10 p.m. Eastern time for all you guys that tune in every week. So this will be the new start time for Hitting Home. We're on the consistency now. Thank you all for hanging with us the past few weeks, even though we've been kind of all over the place. But we got a lot to talk about tonight. Now, look, we're going to go into Beat the Grid later on. We're going to talk about, we're going to beat the grid. That's going to give us our fun old times. We'll get into that. We're going to talk some Yankees tonight. They're coming off some big wins in Cleveland, but they got some issues going on. We'll talk about that as well. However, the big story of topic right now is Tarik Skubal, who apparently is superhuman. He's already throwing minor league rehab starts. That's not the big thing that we're talking about with Tarik Skubal. The whispers are starting to become a thing. Will he be traded at the deadline? Ken Rosenthal's talking about it. John Heyman put out his 5 destinations for Tarik Skubal. Some of them make no sense whatsoever. So we're going to get into that as well. But you know what? We ran the poll question yesterday for everyone at home. You guys answered. We listened. Will Tarik Skubal be traded at the trade deadline this year? 70% of the vote says yes, and 30% says no. So, Dustin, I will leave it to you to kick off the show. Do you think Tarik Skubal will be traded at the trade deadline?
Do I think he will, knowing kind of how the Tigers operate? No. But at the same time, the Tigers don't have a choice. They are one of the bigger disappointments in Major League Baseball this year. I mean, they've been a team that's been knocking on the door of, I would say, not quite a World Series, but they've been knocking on the door of the ALCS the last few years. And adding Framber Valdez was kind of supposed to be that maybe final piece to get him to that next position in the postseason. And not only has Skubal been hurt this year, but the Tigers themselves have just been absolutely terrible. They have to play almost, I think, 660 baseball, which is like a 103 win pace the rest of the season to even kind of put themselves in a position to get into that wild card. And knowing that Skubal's going to walk after the year anyways, you have no choice but to try to recoup some assets to get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're already behind in the Central by a ton. The White Sox rebuild is finally starting to take shape. They're playing some really good baseball right now. The Guardians are in first place, even though they have a -2 run differential, which I find that's the most Cleveland sports stat I think I've ever heard of, is being in first place with a negative run differential. I find that very hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the way the Tigers have played, yeah, it hasn't been a good season. Like you said, Framber was supposed to be that guy to put them over the top. Then, of course, Skubal gets hurt. Other guys, I mean, Mize has been banged up. I mean, Jack Flaherty's been awful, and I hate saying that because I thought Flaherty going back there was going to really boost them when he did, but they haven't hit well. They haven't added an impact bat over the past few years. They're just keep relying on the young guys they're bringing up, which isn't terrible. I mean, Kevin McGonigal has played pretty well, but Torkelson has been up and down. Riley Green has still been a decent run producer, but he still has his hiccups at the plate when it comes to strikeouts. And they just haven't played good baseball. And whether that's the thing, whether the Tigers won the World Series this year or not, their ownership has been reluctant, has said they're not going to. I mean, we saw this back with the arbitration case.
Yo, yeah.
We're going all the way back to the arbitration case. We saw the writing on the wall. And I really don't see the scenario where they have a choice. Like you said, what are they supposed to do?
I mean, you either let the guy walk for nothing because you look at that arbitration case, you've already flat out told him you don't want to pay him what he's worth. So you're not going to re-sign him the offseason. You know damn well he's not going to come back this offseason. Why hang on to him and get nothing for him when you're going to get at least 5, if not 6 prospects and probably 1 or 2 major leaguers thrown into a deal to get him?
Yeah, because regardless of what anyone says, I mean, look, we can have the conversation between Paul Skeens. Tarik Skubal to me is the best pitcher in baseball. I don't want to disrespect Paul Skeens, but right now Skubal is the best thing going in baseball when it comes to a starting pitcher. And again, whether they win or not, the owner has come out reluctantly and said they're not going to pay Tarik Skubal and what he wants. And we know what Tarik Skubal is worth. Tarik Skubal knows what Tarik Skubal is worth.
Yep.
So you are stuck between a rock and a hard spot because yes, you do. I mean, I think the Tigers still think they have a chance of getting back in the AL Central. I don't want to say. I think I'm just going to come out and say, look, we're going to just forget the rest of the season, but you are stuck between that rock and a hard place where, competing or not, you know the ending result of this story. We know where it's going to go. We know where he's not going to end up being. And if you are Detroit, kind of don't have the choice whether you think you're still going to be competitive this year or not. You know where this is going to end. It's going to end with him being on another team, whether it's at the trade deadline this year or if it's in 2027, if there's baseball, or 2028. I'll put that out there too.
Yep. And then that's, I think, the biggest issue that the Tigers have right now. It's you look at the AL Central as a whole. Cleveland's in first place with a -2 run differential. The White Sox just beat the Braves for the second straight game, so the White Sox are now, I think, 1 game out of first or 1.5 games out of first at 5 games above 500. So there's really not a dominating team in that division. So theoretically, the Tigers are very much alive in that AL Central, and they are getting probably within the next 2 weeks the best player in that division back. So that could be the one reason why they are so reluctant to trade him, because they know they still are alive in that division. And once they get their best player back, anything can happen because they're only, I think, 6 games out of first. 7 games, something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm going to give that a quick check. Well, first of all, they're losing 6-3 right now to the Twins, so that's not helping. They are currently 8 games out. They are in 4th place. They are behind the Twins, who they're currently losing to. The Guardians, now with tonight, because the Guardians lost to the Yankees, the White Sox have taken first place.
There you go. And the White Sox right now at 5 games above 500, I believe, are in first place in the AL Central. Yeah. That goes to show that there is not a dominant team in that division. So obviously, the Tigers can't afford to fall too much further behind. But even at 8 games out right now, you get Skubal back, he can make up 8 games on his own if he gets dialed in. You just need everybody else to kind of fall in line with what he's doing, and then who knows what can happen in the second half of the season.
No, yeah, I completely agree. And Real quickly, let me pop into our comments real quick. Evening, George. Hope everything's well with the weather over in Ohio, buddy. We had some thunderstorms over here ourselves. Oh, oh no, George. Look, we're not talking about Cleveland in terms of the end of the story here. We're just saying right now they lead the Central with a minus run differential, which is hilarious. And then, honestly, this is probably the most accurate comment I've ever seen. The AL Central is like the NFC South.
It isn't. I mean, it is. And the funny thing is, you even go back to last year too. Everybody in the AL Central, besides the Guardians, was an average team at best. You had the Central's been kind of that weak division for probably the better part of the last 5 years, and a team that's typically won that division wins it with 86 wins to 88 wins. So there's not a dominant team out there. There's a reason why the Twins made the playoffs 8 straight years. There's a reason why the Royals won a World Series. The Guardians have made the World Series. Tigers have made the ALCS. Like, there's not a dominant team in that division. So every year when the season starts, that division's up for grabs every year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this whole situation has happened. And that's why, because let's be real. If I'm not mistaken, Dustin, what was Tarik Skubal's arbitration number that he wanted?
So Tarik Skubal came into arbitration wanting 33 million or 36 million, something like that.
Okay.
And the Tigers offer to him was 19 million.
Well, no, there's that's probably strike one and two.
Uh,
So
that's probably strike 1, 2, and 3, because usually an arbitration hearing, when you go to arbitration, on average takes 45 to 50 minutes on average, because you hear the player's point of view, you hear the team's point of view, you hear the owner's point of view, and then they kind of go through like, well, you wanted this, we're willing to give you this. Can we meet in the middle? Can we get closer to my number? Can we get closer to your number? And then they kind of go through like that whole debating process. The Tarik Skubal arbitration hearing lasted 4 minutes and 8 seconds. And basically the arbitrator said, you have no argument to stand on. He's worth what he's asking, so you're going to have to pay what he's asking.
So now let's ask this question. What do we think once Tarik Skubal hits an open market, whether that is this offseason, if we get a collective bargaining agreement at some point, regardless of what's going to happen with the salary cap or the lack thereof, whatever happens, what do we think a free agent contract looks like for Tarik Skubal?
It depends, I guess, at this point, now that he had the loose bodies in his elbow. That typically is the first warning sign that a Tommy John surgery is coming down the road. So you're looking at teams now. Are you going to invest 10 years into him, and which would take him till his age 38, 39 season? Are you going to go 7 years with him, which gets to around 35, 36? Or get him for 5 years, and it's probably the last 5 years that he has. Regardless of what the contract looks like, I think he's getting $40 to $45 million a year. Which, when I look at starting pitchers or pitchers in general, that is an insane number to think about when you look at starting pitching. But he's a guy that I could easily see getting like a 6-year contract for around 250 to 275.
So maybe something along the lines of what Dylan Cease got, but with like maybe 30 to 40 million more.
Yeah.
I think that's personally fair.
And I mean, you could
Now,
even say similar to the contract that Framber Valdez got, just doubling the years. Because I think Valdez's contract was what, 3 at 140?
yeah, I mean,
You
if a
make it
team comes in,
6 at 280.
yeah, or if they go 5 for 260, that could be something as well. Like maybe you don't want to go 7, 8 years down the road because you are going to have to worry about the arm and the elbow and a potential of a Tommy John surgery down the road. But if you go 5 years, you're maximizing not only the probably the last 5 really great years potentially he'll have. Because let's be real, starting pitchers do not last forever. Even the greats break down eventually. But if you're looking at it and the way that with Tarik Skubal, if you're a team, every time a team, and this is in any sport, every time a team is looking to sign a big time free agent, whether that was the Phillies with Trey Turner, the Eagles with Saquon Barkley, the Dodgers with Shohei Ohtani, the goal, no matter how long you sign them to their contract, as long as you win a championship with that player, it's considered a success.
No, exactly. And the number that I heard with Skubal this morning, which it's going to be interesting to see if that's the number he gets to. The number I heard this morning was 8 years at 485 with opt-outs and front-loaded money attached to it.
I would hope it's front loaded, not back loaded, because back loaded contracts are worse.
But still, you're looking at almost $61 million a year if that's his contract.
If he comes back 100%, he is still pitching like he was before he got hurt. I could easily see that because again,
I could
Tarik
too.
Skubal, he's the best pitcher in the sport. Like, and no disrespect to all the others, no disrespect to Paul Skeens, Jacob Mizorowski, Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler, all these guys. It's just Tarik Skubal is just in a class of his own right now.
And the only reason why I would say that too is Paul Skeens has only been around now. This is year 3 for Paul Skeens, and actually he's actually struggling this year. So we've kind of seen like this is the. I'm not going to say this is as bad as Paul Skeens will be because we don't know if he can get any worse than this. But this is the worst that we've seen him since he's come into Major League Baseball. So Skeens is showing that he's mortal this year. You look at guys like Jacob Mezorowski and how good he's been. You look at guys like Christopher Sanchez this year and how good he's been. This is kind of like, I'm not going to say a 1-year fluke, but these are guys that haven't done that on a long-term aspect, so we don't know if this is something that's going to continue. 5 consecutive seasons, Tarik Skubal posted an ERA below 2.4. Like, we know what Tarik Skubal can do, regardless of how good his team is, regardless if they're bad, if they're good, or whatever. He goes out there, he does his job, he's going to win you 15-plus games and have an ERA in the 2.4s.
Exactly. And again, I think if you look at what he's done so far in his career, he's going to get somewhere in north of that. I think he's going to get the $40 million a year range without a problem. I know some people were talking and asking about if he would still get around like the 30 that he won in arbitration. I think he's going to get way more than that. But
I mean, he's going to get more than that because if you just got $32 million in arbitration, no way you take a deal that's any less than that the next offseason.
yeah, that's what I think was the killer for him.
Injured or not, like the only reason why his contract may end up being a little bit lighter than what he predicted is the fact that he is hurt this year. But even at that, he's not a guy that's been injured. He consistently makes 30-plus starts a year. He consistently gives you 200 innings a year. Like, he's always been a durable starter. Now that you look at what he just got paid in arbitration, there is no way he takes a deal less than $35 million a year when you look at what he made in arbitration. It just doesn't make sense for him to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like I said, if I'm the Tigers, whether I'm trying to compete this year or not, if I know for a fact that, like we said, when they signed Framber Valdez, we talked about it. We said not only is this a move this year that they think will put them as potentially going over the top, maybe getting to the ALCS and maybe the World Series, but we also brought up this is also probably the plan to, well, we're most likely going to not re-sign Skubal, so that at least we have something in the rotation that can help us. Like, if Skubal were to leave, you still got Framber, you still got Casey Mize. Unfortunately, you still have Jack Flaherty's contract, which isn't great. And they should be getting Jackson Joe back at some point next year. So the rotation will still have a pretty sizable amount of depth to it. But I think after they signed Valdez, we all kind of thought, yeah, this is probably them saying that this is going to be the end of Tarik Skubal in Detroit, especially because I believe Fromber's side wasn't that right around the same time as the arbitration hearing.
He signed before the arbitration hearing just because they weren't sure like what Skubal was going to get. Basically, the Framber Valdez signing was Detroit saying, "Well, we basically just effed our relationship with Skubal, so now this is our way of showing we're going all in this year to try to win it while we have him."
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like I said, I think that they still have some guys in that rotation outside after this year. I think, like you say, you have Casey Mize, you have hopefully Jackson Jobe comes back healthy because I think he's got a lot of potential. But if the Tigers were smart, if they know for 100%, look, if they still think that if their ownership has maybe changed their mind since the start of the season, which I highly doubt, and they do want to keep Tarik Skubal and they will be willing to pay him that money, maybe everything we're saying doesn't matter, and nothing we say matters. But again, with the way Detroit's been in the past, it doesn't sound like they are going to want to pay him the money he's going to want at all. So now let's look ahead into terms of
I think,
some
and I think
possible
that's the biggest. And
options.
I think that's the biggest issue too, though. Is I really honestly think that the Detroit organization wants to keep him, but I just don't think they want to pay him. And when you have a guy like Skubal, you can't have it both ways. You either want him and you want to pay him, or you let him walk. You can't be like, oh, we want to keep him here forever. We want to keep him here long term, but we want to cut corners on what we give him. We don't want to give him what he's worth.
Yeah, and again,
That's like, and
like we said,
I'm gonna use your Phillies for an example. That's like the Phillies basically going up to Christopher Sanchez and being like, well, we know Zach Wheeler doesn't have much longer here. Aaron Nola is unreliable anymore. We really want to keep you here, but I just don't want to give you more than $20 million. Like, what do you think Christopher Sanchez is going to say?
it rocks
Exactly.
because
You can't
he'll
have
have
it both.
leverage.
When you have an ace on your staff that is capable of just shutting anybody down at any given moment, you can't have it both ways. If you want the guy, you have to be willing to pay to keep him, or you have to admit that you just don't want him anymore and you have to trade him before it becomes a problem.
All right, so George has got a very interesting question for us. Serious question here. Since free agency, no player has been a franchise player anymore. Who was the last player to be, quote unquote, a franchise player? So I'm assuming he means a player who stuck around with one team.
Since free agency started,
God, George, how many years do you want me to go back now?
I mean, the only one that comes to mind is Mike Trout. Mike Trout's hit free agency twice, and or actually he hit it once, and he got his massive 14-year contract, and he's had opportunities to not really get rid of that contract, but he's had opportunities to restructure that contract. He's had opportunities to possibly leave the Angels, and he has not done that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Aaron Judge could possibly be one as well because I mean he did have the opportunity to leave and he didn't.
Yep. And the other two guys that I'm going to say too are Freddie Freeman and Shohei, only because they've only played for two teams. Shohei played his first 7 years with the Angels. Granted, he left the Dodgers, still stayed in the city of Los Angeles. Didn't leave the state,
Well, and
didn't leave the city.
hold on, Freddie Freeman probably should still be a Brave.
And he should still be a Brave, but at the same time, the Braves are kind of the same situation as Skubal. Braves did not want to pay Freddie what Freddie was asking. Freddie wanted 5 at 125. The Braves said, we only want to give you 5 at 90. Well, guess what? The Dodgers will give me 5 at 25 at 125, and I'm still a good hitter, and I've proven that every single year.
And I just won you a World Series, so guess what? Have fun. See you later.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Braves' sake, they ended up getting Matt Olson out of it, so it's not like they didn't have a good replacement for Freddie Freeman. But like, those are two guys that I consider like franchise players, just because if the Braves are willing to fork over more money, Freddie Freeman wasn't going to leave. And then the thing with Shohei is, yes, he might not be with the Angels anymore, but he still stayed in the same state, in the same city. It's not like he left for a different state or a different city.
Yeah, but I still get the point where George is going with this. We're talking one franchise, so I'd say Trout, Judge, and then after that, ugh.
Let me think. I'm just trying to think here. Because you got to look at so many people that got traded before they had a chance to hit free agency and then got extended before they even got the free agency. Like Christian Yelich is a prime example. Giancarlo Stanton's a prime example. Like they got traded before they even hit free agency. Giancarlo already had that massive deal with the Marlins before he got traded. Christian Yelich got traded with, I think, 2 years left on his contract, and the Brewers turned around and extended him right away. So those two guys never even had a chance to hit free agency.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, let me think about this. So we're looking at Judge, Trout. Let me think. I guess maybe Acuna would be in this category.
No, because Acuna signed his extension at 21 years old. He still had
Yeah, but
5 years of arbitration left before the Braves gave him that deal. Like he was just out of AAA when they gave him that extension.
yeah, I guess
He
you're.
got the same kind of extension that like Jackson Chourio got, who Jackson Chourio got that 9-year, $81 million contract before he even played a major league game last year.
Can I give a definition of a guy who probably won't be labeled as the best player of a franchise, but played every year with the same team and was a very key, important part of a franchise?
Whew.
Yadier Molina.
Yeah, and Yadier Molina was another one where he never actually got the free agency because the Cardinals made sure that when he was close to free agency, they either extended his contract or they just kind of re-upped his contract. So they never actually let him hit free agency. The only time he hit free agency was that last offseason, which resulted in him signing a 1-year, $7 million deal, and then he retired right after.
Yeah. And I guess if you're looking at players that are I mean, the recent ones we can think of being retired are, I guess, Posey, who never left, but again, a little shorter of a career than most. But again, that's up to him because I mean, he was a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Jeter, probably the
Yep.
last one that played with the longevity. So I mean,
Mariano Rivera,
yeah, Mariano, Posada.
John
Yeah,
Smoltz.
yeah. I mean, I know Smoltz pitched in Boston at the end, but I don't give a crap about that. Oh yeah, I got one. Let's go back to the Braves. Let's go back to Chipper Jones.
Yeah, Chipper. Yep.
I'm trying to think like I know I could say no, I can't. I can't say anybody for my team. I mean, Mike Schmidt would be one for the Phillies, but I couldn't even use one of my core three from the 2000s. They all got moved on and went to other teams.
Ryan Howard.
Yes, because technically, in technical terms, Ryan Howard did sign a minor league deal with the Colorado Rockies, but never played another major league game after his final year in Philadelphia.
And that's the thing, though, too. It's like, it's not that he wanted to leave; it's the fact that the Phillies didn't want him back.
Yeah, his
That's kind
contract.
of that's kind of why that question is hard to answer because you have to look at it kind of from two perspectives. You have to look at it from the people that honestly just signed with the team because they loved being there, or they versus signing with a team because they wanted more money, or in the case
Yeah,
of Ryan Howard, where they had no choice but to sign with somebody else because the Phillies didn't want him back, and the only opportunity he had was to sign a minor league deal with somebody else.
yeah, and I mean to the point with Howard, I mean his big money contract was up. He had been his later years got derailed by lower body injuries. He was in his mid 30s. The Phillies were in a rebuild. They weren't going to bring him back. So, but yeah, I mean Howard's one to fall in. Ironically, I was at the game where he hit his final home run as a Philly.
I guess you could say Vlad Jr.
Yeah, because he just signed that big extension with Toronto.
Yep, when he could have signed anywhere else, he took the Toronto deal.
Real quickly, Fighting Philly says we'll never be sad that Freeman is out of the NL East. I agree with that. George said great
Really
answer with Trout and Judge,
took him
and
up
then
already.
George brought up Cal Ripken. Yeah, that's not a bad one, George. Cal Ripken's another good one. The franchise player.
Ichiro, because
Yeah,
Ichiro
Ichiro played with.
he ended his career with the Marlins, though. He signed that minor league deal and ended up somehow making the team out of camp at 44 years old.
Yeah, but again, Ichiro played with 2 other teams. That's the problem I have with it.
But Seattle didn't want him back, though.
I understand that, but still, I can't. I'm trying to distinctly think of the question we were handed. I'm trying to think of guys that literally only played with one team. It's it's a difficult question. I'm trying to be very
And
distinctive.
obviously, the biggest issue with it now is the money and the contracts you're getting. 20 years ago, you never had contracts like they have now. So if a player
No,
was with a team,
absolutely not.
if a player was with a team for 7 or 8 years, and then that same team offered him, we'll just say like a 3-year, $40 million contract, but then another team came in and said, "Oh, we'll give you 3 years at $50 million." Chances are that player is going to stick with the team that he's been with the last 8 years because he has a familiarity with the organization. He has a comfort level. The money isn't what it is now, so like they've already had a family, their family life's established, everything's established. Versus now, you spend 7 years with one team and they said, "Here, we'll give you a 5-year, $150 million contract," but then somebody else says, "Oh, we'll give you 5 at 165." They're taking that 165 now because now they only care about the money as opposed to leaving a legacy with one franchise.
Yeah. Because, I mean, money in baseball have always been a weird thing, but now these days, it's definitely with these contracts a very interesting. Oh, here's a good one. Jose Altuve. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah, and I mean he's 36 now, so he's coming up on his career is probably coming up to an end soon. I mean, God, isn't he playing left field now?
Left field and right field, he's played some DH. He's kind of done it all.
That's a short ass right. That's a short ass outfielder.
I mean, you could stay. I mean, you could stick with the Astros for a lot of it. I mean, you got Jeff Bagwell. I think Jeff Bagwell played his
Yeah,
whole career with Houston.
I think Bagwell did. Did. Trying to think who else. Did Craig Biggio play his whole career in Houston?
He might have. He's another one.
If you want to go to the Phillies, you could go Mike Schmidt.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, again, like I said, but that's the thing. You don't. George's question is a proven point as well. You don't see it as much anymore, like because of how much the money
You don't
baseball.
because of the money.
I mean, but like, and honestly, I'll be completely honest. This really did start in the offseason after 2018. Dustin, in baseball, we have seen. Let's just go back to example:
Bridges.
2010, 2011. The 2
Bridges.
prizes on the market. One wasn't even a free agent, but it was Roy Halladay, a starting pitcher in his 30s
Yep.
already. Cliff
Yep.
Lee signed a new 5-year deal with the Phillies when he was 32. So now let's fast forward now.
Yep.
Let's fast forward to the offseason after the 2018 season. When have we ever seen, before that year, 2 in their prime 26-year-olds enter free agency? This isn't the NBA with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. This isn't the NFL where guys get their first round contracts and hit free agency. When have we ever seen 2 26-year-old baseball players in their prime of the magnitude of Bryce Harper and Manny Machado hit free agency together?
I don't think we ever
It's
had the
unheard of.
biggest. Well, the biggest reason for that is the way baseball's minor league system works, as opposed to NBA, NHL, and anything. The NBA, you have the G League and the NBA. You sign a rookie contract, you get a 4-year contract with that 5th-year option, and then you're either on the NBA roster from. Same thing with the NHL. You have the EC. NHL is the highest straight NHL. You sign a rookie deal, you get a 4-year entry-level contract with that 5th-year option. Major League Baseball, you have rookie ball, low A, high A, double A, triple A, before you even get to the majors. You get drafted in college at 22 years old, that first contract you sign is technically an 8-year contract because it's your 5-year entry level contract plus your arbitration years. So if you're a 22-year-old getting drafted out of high school, or out of college, sorry, not high school, but out of college, and the team wants to hold on to you for the duration of your rookie contract, and that includes the 5 years plus the arbitration years, you're not hitting free agency until you're 30.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I feel like ever since the offseason of 2018, everything has been like I feel like everything in baseball has changed.
And it has changed because you don't see players like Bryce Harper anymore getting picked up out of high school. Like, obviously, you see high schoolers getting drafted every year, but you don't see guys like Bryce Harper that gets drafted out of high school and not even a year and a half later, he's in the major leagues. So at 18 years old, you play out the duration of your rookie contract, you're now 26. Like,
Yeah,
there's so, like,
I
the
mean,
way the
heck,
draft was even 10 years ago, it was high schoolers first, college players second. You look at the way the baseball draft has been since 2019, and we'll even say since 2021 because the whole losing a season because of COVID kind of had a lot to do with it. Teams are not focusing on high school players as much as they.
no, they're not. You're seeing a lot more college players, especially college pitchers, get targeted more in the draft now. You're seeing the high school elements it's kind of later on in the draft process now.
Yeah, like people being drafted are between the ages of 20 and 23, which are basically like your 2 year because you're eligible to enter the draft after 2 years of college baseball. It's usually those players or the 23-year-olds who just spent 5 years in college. And whether you're drafted at 20 or you're drafted at 23, if a team does things the way they normally do, all the way through arbitration where you hit free agency. Most free agencies nowadays are between 28 and 30 years old because that's when your entry level contract.
Yeah. Real quickly, back to our franchise player thing. George brought up Charlie Blackmon and Todd Helton. Those are very good names. All right.
Yeah.
Philly. Does Strasburg count?
See,
I almost don't know how to I don't know how to fairly answer that because
well, their answer is he does because he never I is rookie contract for he signed his stat. Well, it's a 4-year portion of the rookie deal, and then they just signed him right before arbitration would have started. So he never even hit free agency. He just basically played out the first half of his rookie deal. And then when the Nationals knew that he was going to start getting paid in arbitration anyways, they just said, you know what? We're not even going to worry about arbitration. Here's a 7-year, $225 million deal. Enjoy.
yeah, because he was going to hit that class with Wheeler and Garrett Cole. And I remember having the conversation with people, and people were asking because the Phillies were going to be high in on the free agent starting pitching market. I said Cole's going to go back. Cole's not going to come back over here. He's going to go to either New York or stay in Houston. I said Strasburg is never leaving Washington. I actually said Zach Wheeler was the better option anyway. And fast forward 7 years later,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, exactly.
I
And that's
mean,
the thing. That's the thing. Like, he's a tough one. He's a tough one, but at the same time, I can't put him in that category because he never actually hit free agency.
yeah, I mean, I could be kind of generous because he only pitched with one team, but again, also the injuries that came after that contract. I mean, it he Steven Strasburg may go down as one of the biggest what ifs in the sport of baseball,
If he didn't have
and
the
not.
injuries that he had, I think he would have been the right-handed version of Skubal.
I agree. That's the thing. I agree. because he was so talented, so filthy with his pitches, and it's just like he just could never stay healthy. It started from the moment from 2010. It started. He had Tommy John
Yeah.
surgery, and then he did have some decently healthy years throughout their beginning of their run in the as a National League playoff team. Then, of course,
Yep.
the 2019 run was awesome, and then everything after that, it was never. Barely could get back on a mound after that.
I just remember watching him his senior year. I don't know if it was his senior year or his junior year, but his final year in college when he was with like San Diego State, and just watching him through all like the hit. I don't even know if they made the College World Series that year. They might have got eliminated in the Super Regionals, but just watching him go into the Super Regionals, watching him go into like the college playoffs, and just the way that he was just flat out dominating hitters and just making them look silly. You knew he was major league ready before that draft even started. And if the Nationals if the Nationals wanted to be, they could have been like, guess what? You're the number one pick in the draft. We'll see you in 5 days when you make your major league debut.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we
But
said, one of
obviously,
the
but obviously, you have service time, and so many of these teams now. And I hate to say it because the Cubs did it with Chris Bryant years ago. So many of these teams kind of want to dick around the whole rookie contract shit. So they basically say, we're going to send you to the minors for X amount of days so we can get an extra year of service time on you. Now, granted, if I was running a team, I'd be doing the same damn thing because of the way I look at it. And I'll use Zach Wheeler for an example with your Phillies. Would I rather have a Zach Wheeler for 7 years, or would I rather send him to the minors for 40 days and get him for an extra year? I'm sending him down to the minors for 40 days to get that extra year 10 out of 10 times.
yeah. Yeah, the whole service thing with baseball has always been a weird thing. Like how you said, they had the Cubs did with Chris Bryant and Pittsburgh. Did Pittsburgh not do it with Connor Griffin?
No, they didn't do it with Connor Griffin, but they did it with Paul Skeens.
Ah, see, I'm not even.
Because remember Paul Skeens made 7 starts in the minors, and he was like 7-0 with like a .31 ERA in the minors, and everyone's like that he has no reason that he's even in the minors at this point. Everyone said, yeah, he does. Pirates are doing it to get that extra year of control with him. Like the
It's
Pirates
like,
knew that he could. The Pirates knew that once they drafted him, he could have came up and been pitching right away. But they're like, if I put him in the minors for basically a month and a half, 6 weeks, we get an 8th year with him. What's the point of bringing him up without getting that 8th year?
yeah, exactly. What's the point of it? All right, so backtracking back to Tarik Skubal, since we got on for this tirade of franchise or not franchise players, which I thought was a great conversation. So let's talk about potential suitors for Tarik Skubal. Now, this is if Detroit trades him. You and I are both into the agreement that they will. I want to go off with John Heyman's top 5 that he put out, that he said earlier today. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think John Heyman's been one of the best baseball insiders for a long time, but I think he's starting to fall a little bit out of touch with some of this
Yeah.
because here are his top 5. Take a wild guess who number 1 is. It's the boys in blue. It's the
I'm
damn
going to say a
Dodgers.
team that's in white and blue.
And then here are his next 4. The Padres.
Be a big time player. See that's the thing
So
with
you
the
got the
Padres.
Dodgers and Padres. Then you
The
have the
Padres,
Cubs.
the Padres are trying to cut salary this year. Does it make sense for them to take on a guy who's making $32 million right now, even if he's a rental and you're trying to cut salary all offseason?
I don't know because it's been weird because the Padres have been one of those teams that they've been willing to go all in for the right players, and then if they don't, then they try to move those players. So I mean, I could see the Padres doing it because they've been weird about this kind of stuff.
The only reason why I couldn't is pitching is not the Padres' problem. Offense is the Padres' problem.
That is true. All right, his next one he has is the Cubs.
We can just cross them off the list because the Cubs are going to be lucky to finish out of last place right now at this point. Speaking of the Cubs, since you want to throw them in there, Jamison Tyone just went on the IL, and he's expected to be out till probably August because he just blew out his hamstring the other day. And Matthew Boyd was supposed to be back on Saturday. Well, he threw a bullpen session the other day, and now he injured his shoulder. That means Shota Ima is the only starter that the Cubs have had all that has yet to hit the IL.
The season is still young. Well, it's all right. It's okay. I'm probably looking at a starting outfield now of Edmundo Sosa, Brandon Marsh, and Justin Crawford because Adolis Garcia blew his arm out throwing a ball in from the outfield tonight. So,
Do you know how
and
want to
Dave
know how bad it
Dombrowski,
is for? Do you want to know how bad it is for me in Chicago right now?
how
Pete
bad?
Crow Armstrong leads the team in batting average at 252.
Okay, that's pretty damn bad.
Nico Horner, a guy who's consistently hit 290, 295 every single year. Nico Horner is hitting a 244 right now. Alex Bregman, a guy who's always in the 280s, 290s, is hitting a 240 right now. Michael Busch, who had 36 home runs last year, is hitting a 230 with 7 home runs right now. Seiya Suzuki just hit his first home run in over a month. He's hitting like a 237. Ian Happ's hitting a 228. Dansby Swanson's hitting a whopping 164.
You're not having fun, are you?
Fun? Fun? I'm not having fun, he goes. Fun? I don't even know what fun is anymore. It was fun when we won 20 out of 23. That was fun. Do you know what our record is since we won 20 out of 23 games?
Do I want to know what your record has been since then?
7-22.
Yeah, it's not a good time right now for the Cubbies.
That's
At least one.
exactly why we are a 500 team right now. When we were what 20-3 at one point in the season, leading the division by 7.5 games, and now we are a 500 team, 8 games out of first, and are 7-22 in our last 29 games.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so not only
And
has the offense hit a collective. This is collective, all right? Are you ready for this? This is what they've done over the last 30 games collectively as an offense. 197 batting average over the last 30 games. Dead last in baseball. On base percentage, 274. Dead last in baseball. Ready for the kicker? Slugging percentage over the last 30 days of 234. Dead last in baseball. Let's throw in an ERA of a 791 between our starters over that same time frame.
it is definitely just not a good time for you right now, is it?
No, because not only can we not hit, but we can't pitch. I would take one or the other. I would take a good pitching staff and losing our games 3-2, or I would take a good offense losing our games 9-8. It's not fun losing 8-1 and 8-2 anymore.
I don't think it ever is fun to lose that amount.
We lost to the Giants 18-3 on Friday after spotting them a 16-0 lead after the 5th inning.
I was gonna, it was funny. I was gonna message you after that game and ask if you were okay, but I didn't think it was the right time.
Oh, you could have messaged me in the 5th inning because I was laughing. It was freaking
Speaking of
comical.
speaking of laughing, here's where John Heyman completely loses me here. His last 2 final teams for Tarik Skubal, the Rays and the Brewers.
The Rays, no. The Rays don't make sense. However, the Brewers make a ton of sense.
Yes,
Brewers have
but
Brewers have Kyle Harrison, Jacob Mezorowski. They have the top farm system in baseball. Jackson Churio is locked up for 7 years. They just locked up their current number one prospect, Luis Lara, to a 8-year, $63 million deal yesterday. He's locked up for the next 9 years. You have Bryce Terang locked up for 5 years. You have William Contreras locked up for 3. The Brewers want to make a run for a World Series before they have to start paying some of these guys like Harrison, Mazeroski, Terang, and some of these other guys. Making trades from your farm system to go get Tarik Skubal right now is your window to try to win right now.
But yeah, I understand that. But this is a team that just back in the offseason traded away Freddie Peralta. So why would you trade Freddie and then give up prospects to trade for a rental of Skubal? Because you know they're not going to
Because
re-sign him.
no, because they would make the Tigers take on some of the cash, which Tigers would probably do just to get rid of him, especially if they can get a haul of good prospects for him. But when the Brewers
That's the right
traded away
system to look for.
And when the Brewers traded away Freddie Peralta, I don't think they even expected Kyle Harrison to become what he's become. So now that you have Mazeroski, 24 years old, and Kyle Harrison, 25 years old, doing what they've done, you have a two-headed monster in that rotation for the next 6 years. You're not going to have another guy like Tarik Skubal come around too often. So if there is a chance, even a 10% chance that you can get him, if I'm Milwaukee, I'm pushing all my chips into the table and basically saying, the only prospect that is off limits is Lara because we just extended him. Name your price and we'll give you what you want for Skubal.
Yeah, and I'm now thinking about a playoff series going up against those three.
This is your best.
That-
Your best of 5. You would have Skubal, Mazeroski, Harrison in that order,
That's not
and
even
then
fair.
for good measures, you would still have Quinn Priester and Chad Patrick as your 4 and 5 options. However, you want to divvy that out from there.
Again, not even fair.
Yeah, that's what I said. If I'm the Brewers right now, knowing that I literally went from being 7.5 games out of first to now having an 8.5 game lead, knowing that I have 2 aces already on top of my rotation, if I can get a third ace for 3 months that I know is going to be my game 1 starter in the playoffs, that I know is going to be my game 7 starter, whether it's in the championship series or the World Series, I do what I can to bring him in because a chance like that's not going to happen anymore.
Another team that people have brought up, I think Rosenthal may have mentioned them, was the Phillies. And my initial thought of it was, okay, Philly Sports Talk Radio, they love to make this analogy. They're like, oh, well, if they go after Skubal, there's nowhere to pitch for him. First off, Tarik Skubal is not a number 5 starter like a Noah Syndergaard at the end of his career. If you acquire a Tarik Skubal, damn it, you make room for it.
I mean, ultimately, to get him, though, you'd probably have to part ways with Andrew Painter.
Okay, that's fine. He looks like Taijuan Walker with better velocity right now. So guess what? The Phillies don't have a track record of great player development.
They don't. No.
The Phillies core right now are all guys that came from outside of the organization. JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey
Wheeler.
Turner,
Zach Wheeler.
Zach Wheeler. And that's the other thing. Right now, if you look at the Phillies the way they're currently constructed, bullpen, it's been pretty good. Brad Keller's he gives up his base runners, but he's been finding ways out of it. Orion Kirkery has been pitching really well. Jose Alvarado's pitching very well. Johan Duran, he responded after blowing the save last night, came back tonight, got a quick 9th inning, and ended up winning the game. The problem is, if you look at the Phillies, like you said earlier, Aaron Nola has turned into, from the workhorse, reliable guy he used to be, he is no longer that. Andrew Painter is probably not going to start a playoff game if it started right now. And Jesus Luzardo, ironically, sucks at home this year. His ERA's over 5 at home. It's under 2 on the road. Yes, he pitched again. He pitched tonight. He gave us only 1 run against Toronto. If you
Of course he
go
did.
into a postseason series right now, you're going Sanchez, Wheeler, and then who?
Luzardo. You'd go Sanchez, Wheeler, Luzardo, because chances are Luzardo would be getting that start on the road, and that's where you want him to get the ball.
But that's the thing. With again, we don't know what Jesus Luzardo is still. I know last year toward the end was good. I know he pitched well last year against the Dodgers, but this year's proving we still don't know what Jesus Luzardo is. He is a very hit or miss starting pitcher. One night he looks like he could be just as good as Christopher Sanchez. Another night he looks as bad as Aaron Nola.
I mean, maybe that's who he is, though. Maybe he is that type of guy that's going to be inconsistent, where when he's on, and when he's not.
Well, that's my point. And that's why if I'm the Phillies, I'm not saying they're going to do it. First of all, they need a damn outfielder, especially now we got to monitor this whole Adolis Garcia situation because you thought the outfield was thin with him. Oh, I don't want to see a day where it is without him. That's scaring. That's scaring fear into my very soul. But if I'm the Phillies, I am at least going to entertain the idea of looking into it. Because
So let me tempt you with a good time then. If you're looking at entertaining that idea, why not try to do a multiplayer package? As in, go get Skubal, toss in Riley Green with it to get your outfielder.
the problem is Riley Green is a left-handed hitter, and we are already so left-handed dependent. With our 3 best players so far this year are all left-handed hitters: Marsh, Harper, and Schwarber. They need a right-handed hitting hitter.
All right. Well, what about Javi Baez?
Hell no.
You put him in that park, he might work for you.
He may.
That's why his numbers are so down with the Tigers, because the park is too big of a park for him to hit in.
But I'm just thinking of the fact that if I get a playoff series and I go Sanchez, Wheeler, Skubal, then Luzardo, then I'm a little more happy. And depending on days off, you may not even need Luzardo.
Well, you're not going Sanchez Wheeler. You're probably going Skubal 1.
Or I mean, I think the Phillies would still give it to Sanchez because guy's part of their organization. He's been there with them forever. So not disrespecting Schoolboy, the way teams think like that. I think that's the way they would go. What's up, Steven? Yeah, Steven, we're only 8 games back. Braves actually lost the game for once in their lives where they didn't score 6.
They lost 2 in a row to the White Sox. The White Sox beat them 2-1 tonight.
Yeah, so I mean, Phillies, they're trying. The Phillies are Steven, here's what the Phillies have to do. The division, I am out on the division until I see their 5 games back or less. Because the Braves are they're healthy and they're hitting and they're just that damn good. But the Phillies, all they can do right now is take care of their own business. Right now, you're set up for a wild card spot. Just keep playing the way they've been playing since Mattingly took over, and they'll be fine. Steven wants to ask me, give me a percentage of Mike Trout ends up on this team. I'll say 10%. If you are looking for the Phillies to add an impact right-handed hitter, you're probably looking at somebody more realistic along the lines of Byron Buxton. That's probably who I would see the Phillies target.
Not the rumor that I heard today, and if it's true, you can have him.
What's the rumor that you've heard?
Seiya Suzuki.
Oh, dear God. That would be the most Dave Dombrowski thing in the world.
Because you can use him as a DH and as an outfielder.
Hell, I don't need another guy who can DH. I got one.
I know you got one, but you can use him for both. And he's a right-handed bat who hit 34 home runs and drove in 110 last year.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, especially coming over in this ballpark, like you said with Javi Baez. But if I'm looking at something, I'm looking at Byron Buxton. He fits a lot of roles. He can play center field on days where they don't want to have Justin Crawford out there, like especially against lefties, because he tends to. Crawford's been struggling lately against lefties. And he started off okay, but I could definitely see Buxton as a guy the Phillies will target, and I think he's probably the best right-handed bat that may be available. Another one, possibly. This is gonna hurt Steven. It's not gonna be Mike Trout, but Joe Adell is another guy who I could see them look at.
Yeah, Joe Adell. Yeah,
But
I've
I
heard
don't
that for a
think
while.
Steven, the biggest reason why I keep saying I'm saying no to Trout, not because I don't love Mike Trout, but a lot of money on that contract still to bring onto your books, especially with the looming lockout and if there's going to be a salary cap. The Phillies are already going to have issues with that to begin with because of their payroll. I don't think they're going to want to add that much more money to it. And trust me, I've been on the Mike Trout wagon for years, but just with the way everything is shaping up with the CBA and the Phillies payroll, I just don't see them going after Trout at this point. So, unfortunately, I probably just broke some people's hearts there.
I mean, I give Mike Trout a shit ton of credit too, because he could have left the Angels multiple times, and yet he continues to stay with the Angels, regardless of the Angels not doing a whole lot to help him. And that just kind of leads me to believe that either A, he really does love the Angels organization, despite them not doing a great job to kind of put talent around him. And some of that is not their fault because they were banking on Anthony Rendon to do something, and he turned out to be the worst contract in Major League Baseball history. Then you had the whole situation with Tyler Skaggs and the drug overdose, where he was supposed to be the ace of the future, and he looked the part for 1 year until that was obviously factors that were not in the organization control as to why things didn't work out at the time. I'm one of those guys that he signed that contract to honor that contract for the duration. Because when he signed that contract, he basically said, I'm committing to you guys for the next 12 years. Like, whatever happens, happens. I'm committing to you for 12 years. I'm going to honor the contract you gave me. I'm not leaving.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, Shohei ends up leaving, and very early in Trout's career when he came up and was playing full time. Albert Pujols' offensive numbers started to decline as he got older. C.J. Wilson, who they also signed to help be the ace of the staff, ended up having shoulder issues. Just a lot of contracts that the Angels gave out for over the past decade plus have not worked out in their favor.
And that's another thing too. And like a lot of people have always said, like Artie Moreno didn't do a good job getting Mike Trout help, and like in some aspects they're right. But then you have to look at it like they brought in Pujols, they brought in Rendon, they had Shohei, they had Skaggs, they had these other guys. It's not his fault that Rendon decided he didn't want to play baseball anymore. It's not his fault that Pujols only had 2 good years before like Father Time caught up to him. It's not his fault that Skaggs had a drug overdose. It's not his fault that other guys got hurt. Like he did what he needed to do to put that team in a position to win, but nothing went right.
Yeah. I guess the biggest one they'll hold him to is the fact that they didn't re-sign Shohei. But again,
So here's the thing, though.
You can say that about the other 30 teams that didn't sign him.
Yeah, they can say that he didn't resign. They can say that they didn't re-sign Shohei all they want. But did anybody, and I mean anybody, this is you included, this is everybody on this planet Earth, did anybody ever in a million years think that Shohei was going to have 600 of his $700 million contract deferred?
Nope.
Exactly why the Angels and everybody else in this Major League Baseball world had no shot to get Shohei. Because had any of these teams known, like everybody has known that you can defer money because money being deferred has always been a thing. But it wasn't meant to be used the way the Dodgers are using it. It was
I'll be
meant to be
completely
used.
honest. I didn't know about deferred money until the Dodgers did it with Shohei.
Well, so it's always been a thing, but it's the way I understood it. And like obviously, I've been around like more kind of front offices than you've been around just because of what I do, like as my side gig and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like the way I understood it from like the people I've talked to from the Cubs organization, the White Sox organization, and things like that, deferred money was basically a thing that was going to be used as like an emergency fund. So if you had, we'll say $20 million left of, there's no cap, but if you had $20 million left before you hit the luxury tax, the point of deferring money was you sign that player for however much money it takes you to hit that luxury tax, but then you defer a portion of it to keep you under the luxury tax. And the number that they kept saying was 20% is what you could defer. So if you sign a guy for $20 million, you defer 14 or you defer $4 million. That's what the point of the deferred money was, not for a guy to sign for $700 million and you're deferring 95% of that contract. That's essentially taking out a loan against Major League Baseball and telling baseball, we don't have $70 million to give this guy. So here, we'll pay him $2 million and you can just write us a $68 million loan the next 10 years and eventually we'll pay you back.
Basically. And like I said, that's why I think back to the CBA thing, which we're going to have these conversations plenty going into the late summer, into the off season. I will once again say, I think deferred money, like how you've explained it, is perfectly okay to be used, but I think there needs to be a cap on how much of the percentage of a contract you can defer, because there is no way that every team in baseball can afford to defer basically 90% of a guy's yearly salary.
The
There's
Dodgers,
not every team in baseball can afford to do that.
the
So
Dodgers current payroll, like if you add up all their contracts, 700 million for Shohei, the 300 million for Betts, all the contracts in. The Dodgers payroll, if you took all those contracts and added them up together, I believe is like $1.45 billion. Do you know how much of that is deferred?
how much?
1.26 billion.
That's ridiculous.
They are essentially paying $248 million of $1.4 billion is what they're essentially paying up front. They basically took out a $1.2 billion loan that they have to pay back later.
That is utterly insane. Teams can't compete with that.
No. And the funny thing is, and it's
No.
not funny, if baseball does go into a lockout, guess what the Dodgers have going for them? Not only are all those contracts valid, but once the lockout ends, all the Dodgers have to do is declare bankruptcy, and guess what? They don't know anything.
Welcome to baseball in 2026, where we are going to go through a very ugly CBA bargaining agreement fight. It's going to be.
And this is why baseball's kind of screwed too, because if the Dodgers do claim bankruptcy, guess who has to pay those contracts out?
Assuming it's Major League Baseball.
The revenue sharing has to pay those contracts out.
Yep. And that's one of the big arguments going through these CBA negotiations is all the revenue sharing stuff.
Yep, and that's kind of why, like I said, everyone knew that you could defer money, but the point of it was to defer 10 to 20% of a team of one player's salary, not like 7 or 8 guys that they basically deferred the last 2 years. The point was to sign one guy for X amount and defer 20% of that contract. The Dodgers decided to sign 7 guys and defer everybody.
And just keep winning during the process. It's one of the craziest CBA negotiations we are going to be witnessing over the next couple of months because it's just it's it just gets worse every time you think of something new that goes into it. Also, though, and one of our other big headlines throughout the night, last week, Aaron Judge was said to he will be re-examined in 4 to 6 weeks after being shown that he has a stress fracture on the right side in his ribs. He will be re-examined in 4 to 6 weeks and is expected to be back at some point this season, even though that timeline hasn't officially been determined yet. Dustin, I got to ask. We talked about the Yankees a lot since starting hitting home with their lineup. Will they be able to survive without the former American League MVP for a long stretch of time?
I mean, they're surviving right now, so I give them the credit for that. But long term, I guess what do you consider surviving?
Like by time Aaron Judge will come back, will they still have a good enough chance to win the AL East?
I'm going to say yes, but a slight yes. The Bay
Yeah,
is
because like
and I mean a damn. So with Aaron Judge, they were having a tough time keeping with Tampa Bay right now.
yeah, and I mean the only ways. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some guys are going to have to step up big time. Rice is going to kind of have to continue to do what he's been doing. I do understand, yes, they have been doing, they did have a good series in Cleveland, but again, we just talked about Cleveland being a team that literally has a -2 run differential throughout the year, which I still can't believe. They're going to need Ben Rice to continue to doing what he's been doing this entire year. Paul Goldschmidt, actually, I didn't even realize this. Paul Goldschmidt is hitting 287. He is actually having a very strong start to the year. And now that he's basically being a full time DH and not having to play first a lot, he's actually been playing pretty damn well for the Yankees. And a lot of people were questioning about if it was the right decision to bring him back again for a year. And he so far has been playing pretty well. But they're going to need him to step up.
I think,
Cody Bellinger, who's actually been a pretty damn solid run producer, they're going to need him to step up.
and I think the thing that's
But
ultimately
the
helped
main
Paul
cat,
Goldschmidt was last year when they made him more of a not like a DH permanently because he did have some time at first base, but they pretty much made him a left-handed specialist where he would only face left-handed pitchers.
yep, and he's matched left handed pitching his whole career. So
That was, I think, what saved his career because you kind of look at how the rest of his Arizona tenure went. His last 2 years in Arizona, you could tell that he was kind of on the downturn. He was getting injured more than he ever did. The power numbers were going down. His average was going from 312 to 290 to 270 to 240. Yankees signed him. They basically said, hey, you're a career 356 hitter off of lefties. We'll give you $17 million a year. You'll play some games against right-handers, but you're getting signed to be a left-handed masher, and that's what he did. He hit a 323 off of lefties last year.
yeah, and this year he's doing basically the same thing.
Yep, I think he's hitting like a 308 off of lefties this year, and I think he's hitting like a 247 off of righties, but his average is still like a 273 because he's had more plate appearances against lefties.
Yeah. I mean, he's been having a really strong start to the year. And like I said, they're going to need guys like, I mean, Ben Rice has had a really good start to the year. Cody Bellinger's been producing a lot of runs so far this year. They're going to need both those guys to step up. They're going to need their pitching now that it's starting to get healthy. You know, with Garrett Cole back, Carlos Rodon had a really good outing today in Cleveland. They're going to need those guys to come in and really step up their game because if I'm expecting, like I said, I'm not trying to disrespect the Guardians, but again, Guardians are 4 games over 500. Yes, they're a first place team, but look at the run differential. They are going to run into teams that are better equipped offensively, and they're going to need to get to teams. They're going to need pitching to beat some of these teams that have better offenses than them. So they're definitely going to need their pitching to step up. Garrett Cole's going to have to give them a lot of good innings. Carlos Rodon's going to have to give them good innings. Cam Schlittler, who's just been amazing all season. Will Warren, who's also been really effective all season. They're going to need to get these guys to continue to give them strong. If they can give them 6 innings a night, I think they'll keep them in games. And you could just hope you could scratch out enough runs for your pitching to hold on to the leads.
I mean, if you're the Yankees, though, do you make a trade at the deadline for an arm?
How many more arms do you think they need, man?
I mean, you got Garrett Cole, you got Schlitter, and you got Will Warren. Do you honestly trust Max Fried to be 100% this year?
What was his injury? Was it loose bodies in his elbow?
Yes.
Uh, I would like to, but I'm not going to hold my breath because loose bodies in an elbow doesn't. Any type of elbow injury, I don't care if it's only a contusion. Any type of elbow issue, I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna mess with.
So that's the thing. If you know that Fried might not be 100%, if I'm the Yankees, why don't they make a run at Skubal?
Oh yeah, yeah. Why are we gonna do this?
It's a
Yeah,
rental. It's a rental. You know you still have Fried long term, so it's not going to hurt if you're going to get a guy like Skubal who's a rental because it allows you to bring back Fried slowly. You don't force him back into the rotation until he's 100%. And if he doesn't even get back to 100% this year, you still have a very nice safety blanket in Skubal.
yeah. And again, we were talking about this about the Yankees a few weeks ago with the amount of starters they do have, like Clark Schmidt, who's probably going to miss most of this whole year. Luis Gil is still trying to work back from shoulder issues. If the Tigers want a young, controllable arm back in return, the Yankees are probably one of the teams that can offer it without a problem.
You can offer Clark Schmidt. You can offer. I even think you could offer Luis Gil in there just because I think the Tigers would bank on him being healthy next year. You could throw in Volpe because I think the Yankees are done with Volpe.
I think the Yankees and the Yankees fans are done with Volpe.
And then you can throw in a couple prospects, and I can see that deal getting done.
I know we are heavy on baseball, but I gotta show this comment, Brian. I've been watching this game ever since the Phillies game ended. This may be the craziest NBA Finals game I've ever seen.
I have to give as much as I hate the Knicks, I have to give them some damn credit for what they've done in the playoffs.
They're so annoying to play because they're built for any type of success. They want to beat you with a big lineup they can. They beat you with a bunch of wings they can. Brunson's a superstar. People don't want to admit it, but he is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but back to the Yankees. Now, I think here's the question. Because another bat that I'm sure they're going to want to see a bunch of in this time with Aaron Judge out is Spencer Jones, who's one of their top prospects. Do you think the Tigers would say, "Oh, we'll take Luis Gil, but we want Spencer Jones back in the trade as well"? Because everyone's going to be the Tigers are going to ask whoever wants him. They're going to have to give up their top prospect for.
And
The Tigers are going to demand that.
I can see the Yankees doing that. The Yankees don't have issues signing free agent bats. They'll be able to find another bat next offseason.
Yeah, but it feels like ever since they had Aaron Judge, they have struggled to find that game changer. When they finally did, they chose not to re-sign him.
Bellinger can still be that game changer. The thing with Bellinger is now he's not the hitter he once was, and it's not actually a bad thing. He's learned to be a better hitter. He doesn't strike out as much. He takes more walks. He worries about putting the ball in play now as opposed to swinging for the fences and trying to hit home runs. Like Bellinger's become a better hitter because of the struggles he went through those couple years in Los Angeles. But if he really wanted to go back to the hitter that he used to be, he can still be a game changer and hit 35 home runs and drive in 100.
Yeah, because again, you want to talk about a ballpark that fits a player. It is Yankee Stadium, and when it comes to Cody Bellinger with that short porch in right field.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why when free agency started this past year, the Yankees were the favorites to get Bellinger, even though everybody said he was going to go back to the Cubs, or everybody said he was going to go here, or he was going to go here. The Yankees were pretty
There
much
were
the only team that were going to go after Bellinger because of that short porch in right field.
there were people saying that he was even going to go back to the Dodgers, and I was like, I don't even see that.
Well, the Knicks actually won the game. Holy moly!
Yep, Spurs had a Castle had a roll to the basket. If it's a perfect lob, he probably tips it in, but it got deflected, and that's all she wrote. Knicks a win away from an NBA title.
Oh well, that, you mean that's all she wrote on the Spurs. The Spurs are dead, cooked and buried in Game 5.
Yeah,
To
because I
blow the
mean,
lead
like
that
they,
to blow the lead that they just had in Game 4, they are toast in Game
oh
5.
yeah, yeah, I don't see how they get through Game 5. I mean, that's a young team going through all the emotions of that. Good luck. And but so yeah, back with the Yankees. I'm afraid they may lose a lot of ground with Tampa Bay over this time because, like you said, they were already struggling offensively with Judge. Without
Yep.
him, I don't know what they're gonna do. Like I say, you're gonna need a lot of guys to step up.
Yep.
Now, speaking of, we're talking about high priced talented players. Dustin, you brought something to my attention earlier today when we were talking about the talent level in terms of salaries producing or the lack thereof producing. What did you want to talk about in regards to that?
So normally when people think of money and big money players, and then you look at the low, less money players, maybe like players on a veteran minimum contract or players that aren't even in like their first big year of arbitration, you tend to point to the talent gap, like Juan Soto, Shohei, Aaron Judge, and like those guys. The talent gap between them and a guy like Jackson Churio and a guy like Pete Crow Armstrong, like the talent gap is so immensely, massively different. But you look at the numbers this year. Fernando Tatis is on a $320 million contract. He hit his second home run of the season today. And we are 70 plus games in, and he just hit his second home run. You look at the batting averages on some of these players, whether it's Trey Turner, whether it's Dansby Swanson, Xander Bogaerts, Carlos Correa,
Manny
all these
Machado.
guys, Machado, all these guys that sign these 250, $300 million contracts. And not only are they not living up to their contract right now, they are flat out producing at a historically low level that they're becoming a nine-figure paperweight. But then you look at
You brought
then you look at these players, whether they're rookies, whether they're like players who sign these 7 year, $60 million extensions before they even played one major league game. These are the guys that are actually producing. So that leads me to wonder: is the talent gap actually as big as some people think it is, or have these young players caught up to the game faster than what they used to catch up to the game? And now you're starting to see the era of baseball we're in now kind of trend back to where you're going to have the young players be the faces of the franchises. You're not going to have these veterans be the faces of the franchise anymore. You might not have 60, 70 home run guys anymore, but you might have a bunch of players doing a lot of these 30-30 seasons, a lot of these 40-40 seasons, because these are the guys that are producing now.
well, and I mean, like you brought up Trey Turner. I mean, let's be honest. This is a Trey Turner who just last year was the batting champion, and now his teammate Brandon Marsh, who's making a fraction of what Trey Turner makes. Brandon Marsh hasn't even been hasn't even gotten to free agency once in his career yet, and he's leading the major leagues in batting average. And you're and no, and I think you're on to something. I think we are into where baseball is becoming a young player's game again, and it's because something that really into my mind here, right? We talk about pitching and how many of these guys throw 100 plus as just as starters. The hell with the relievers, because relievers have been doing it. Chapman's been doing it, and Jansen was doing it all those years ago. But now it's like it's almost every pitcher now throws 98 plus. It's a lot easier to catch up to that when you're 25 based on when you're 33.
And going off of what you just said there too, how many times did like Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Trey Turner, any of these guys see a 100-mile-an-hour fastball going through the minor leagues?
Probably never, if at
How
all.
many and how many of these young guys are seeing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs in the minor leagues? Probably at least one a game. One pitcher every game probably throw 100 miles an hour in the minors.
I'm watching kids in the draft league throw 99.
Yeah. So like the hitters, these younger hitters, I'm not going to say they're better hitters yet just because they haven't been in the league long enough to be a better hitter, but I will say I think these younger hitters are more prepared now than what they ever were because they're seeing the high velocity at such a young age. They're seeing the high velocity all the way through the minors, so they have time to make the adjustments to it. So that when they get to the majors, they're ready for it, and it's not as steep of a learning curve as it once was.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're looking at it, another thing, let me ask you this, right? Do we think because a lot of these young kids, again, I asked this question, I forget what this had to do with back when I asked it, but a lot of the players, like you said, are the big money guys, the Machados, the Turners. Is the looming lockout on their minds a lot?
I think it is just because I think they want to prove that they can play in this league sooner rather than later. So they have an opportunity to cash in on that first big contract before a lockout might prevent them from ever getting that big contract.
Well, also let's look at it this way, right? When this lockout ends and there is a salary cap or whatever, right? Who is going to be affected by it first? The players who have gotten their big payday, because now these teams are going to have to figure out what to do with all these contracts that are on their books.
No, because those contracts are all going to be grandfathered in.
Hmm.
The players that have yet to sign these contracts are going to be the ones affected by the lockout because you don't know if you're ever going to see a nine-figure deal north of $200 million again. You don't know what teams are even going to have what type of money to sign you because of all these contracts that are going to be grandfathered in. You don't know what free agency is going to look like or what any free agent deal is going to look like if you're going up against teams that have all these grandfathered in contracts where they don't have a ton of money to give you. So these players want to not only prove that they can play right away, but these players are trying to earn that first big contract right now because then no matter what happens this offseason, that contract is theirs as grandfathered in.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, because I mean, like you think of guys like again, like look at Manny Machado. It's like, oh, Manny, you're batting 180. It's like I don't give a shit. I'm making $35 million a year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Manny Machado doesn't care about the sport of baseball. I'm just saying, like,
No.
Manny's not going home and looking at his phone and saying, "Oh well, man, this looks pretty good."
Right? I
The
mean, like,
batting average don't
look
look
at,
good, but the bank account looks great.
yeah. I mean, you got guys like Dansby Swanson hitting a 164.
He's
That's a
making 20 plus
fireable.
million. He
That's a
don't care.
That's a fireable offense in Major League Baseball hitting a 164, but he wakes up every morning and sees that he's making $23.2 million for another 4 years. He don't give a shit what he's hitting.
Trey Turner
He's
probably
going,
shouldn't be a position. Trey Turner shouldn't be playing his position anymore, but it ain't matter to him. He's making $300 million over the next
and
decade, so it don't
and if
matter.
you and if you want to cut him loose, guess what? He's still making that $300 million.
Yep. Yeah, I think we're seeing all these young players trying their behinds all between now and the end of the season to try to get that payday. Like Connor Griffin just got, like Jackson Churio got a few years ago, that
Mhm.
Kevin McGonigal just got this year. Players are trying to get their payday because they know what is coming. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, this I feel bad for the free agent class this year because they're going to get someone's getting screwed out of something.
Mhm.
And these are uncomfortable conversations that we are going to continue to have throughout the season because every week there's going to be something new, whether it's a new offer from the Players Association or a new offer from Major League Baseball. But this is how it's going to be, and unfortunately, things are going to they're going to get worse before they come close to getting better, and it's just unfortunate.
Exactly.
But Dustin, before we get out of here tonight, shall we try to beat the grid?
We shall. Let's just hope the grid doesn't screw us over this week.
Well, I would like to point out that Tyler and we nailed our grid on Monday, so the pressure's on.
Good for you and Tyler. Proud of you.
All right, so for this week's grid, we have a first round draft pick, played first base minimum one game, and the Mets at the top. And on the left hand side, we have A's, Astros, Red Sox. Where would we like to start?
We can do first base.
I'm trying to. The chat's not chatting. There we go. Okay, sorry. I thought there was a chat that I couldn't get to, but all right. So where do you want to start off now?
We'll do first base.
All right, where do we want to go?
We'll go Jason Giambi for the A's.
Okay, there he is. Wow, only 12%.
Astros for first base. Let's go.
Are we sick?
Huh?
Are we sick enough to put Bill Buckner for the Red Sox?
We can put Bill Buckner for the Red Sox. That's fine.
Oh boy. Sorry, Red Sox fans. We have to do it. All right, and who we got for the Astros?
Carlos Lee.
Carlos Lee.
Yeah. El Caballo.
Oh yeah, El Caballo did play first base for towards the end. Damn, no Lance Berkman love, huh?
I think more people see Lance Berkman as a DH because that's what he was for the majority of the end of his career.
That is true. All right, so we've knocked out first base. Where do we want to go next?
First round draft pick. We can go Carlos Correa for Houston.
All right. All right, Carlos Correa. There you go.
First round draft pick for Boston. Can we go Jacoby Ellsbury?
Oh, there's a name. There we go. Oh, how dare they put him in a Yankees hat?
First round draft pick for the A's.
I'm trying to think
That's
of
not,
was Nick Kurtz a first round draft pick?
I think he was second.
Damn it. All right, so I mean, you could pick up a bunch of guys in their lineup now between Soderstrom,
Yeah.
uh, Jacob Wilson.
I'm just trying to think if any of them are first rounders though.
I know, like that's the crazy thing with the A's. Like, was Matt Olson a first round pick?
Okay, I'm gonna say a name. I can't remember his last name, but his first name is Chad, and his last name starts with a P. And he played shortstop for the A's, and he was drafted in 2005. I believe he was their first round pick.
Are you not thinking of Cliff Pennington?
Yes, Clifton Pennington.
There he is. Oh God, Dustin, let's hope you just nailed it. Look at you.
2005 first round pick, Clifton Pennington.
What a pull. That's an all right. So now we get to the fun part. Mets A's, Mets Astros, Mets Red Sox. I got one for Mets and Red Sox.
What do you got?
Jason Bay
Okay. Jason Bay.
had that ironically had that very big like half season full season with the Red Sox, turned it into a big contract with the Mets and flamed out completely. Oh, I even got out. I have Astros and Mets too.
What do you got for that one?
Carlos Beltran.
Oh, yes.
Right. And now we just need a A's and a Met.
Oh, man, this is going to be tough. So I'm thinking,
There's
like, I'm thinking pitchers and everything right now.
nope, I
Relievers.
got one. I
What
got
do you
one.
got?
Frankie Montas.
Frankie Montas. I was gonna go with bigger pull than that, but yeah, Frankie's good.
You
Oh, you
want to
could
do
do
a
Sean
Frankie? You want to go?
Manaea. Sean Manaea.
Ooh. You know, we'll go Sean Manaea. Let's go. Let's give Sean Manaea some love.
I just want to see his hairdo.
Oh God. I hope it's an A's picture where he doesn't have the hair. Oh, he caught it.
Damn it.
You got hit with the newly shaved Sean Manaea. You don't get the hair.
No,
All right. Well, Dustin, we did it. We took down the grid this week.
that Clifton Pennington pull.
The 0.1%.
Told you I
I'm very
memorized it. I told you I memorized the 2005 draft class because that's the same class that Ellsbury was in.
I'm very surprised, but we only had one guest that was over 20%, and that was Carlos Correa. But I mean, again, you could pick a bunch of guys from the Astros draft classes.
Right.
Very, very nice. All right, so guess what, Grid? We got our revenge this week. So, haha, joke's on you. But all right, guys, with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up this episode of Hitting Home. Like we said to start the show, 10 p.m. Eastern time will be the new start time for Hitting Home every week. So if you ever want to catch up on your baseball talk with us, we'll be live every Wednesday, 10 p.m., talking whatever we want to about baseball. We covered a lot of good stuff tonight, but with that being said, everybody, hope everyone enjoyed tonight's show. If you are not able to catch the show live, you can always check it out over on the 609 YouTube channel and, of course, over here on Facebook. And, of course, while you're over there, hit that like on Facebook, hit that subscribe on YouTube. We're building something special over here, and we greatly appreciate all your guys' support. Thank you, everybody, for commenting in tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Have a great last my timeline over in my time zone. Have a great last 7 minutes of your Wednesday night, and we will talk to you guys soon. Have a great night, everybody. For Dustin Reese, I'm Sam Nelson. Good night, everybody.
The following has been a presentation of 609 Sports Talk Radio.
Sam, what did you do?